High-tech companies say they can't find enough qualified Americans to hire, and they want more of those so-called H-1B visas to bring in skilled workers from overseas. Well, it turns out the fashion industry is saying the same thing, which is why computer scientists and would-be supermodels are being lumped together in a debate over immigration. Megan Hughes is in Washington. And Megan, this is actually not a joke. How did this unlikely combination come together at the center of the immigration debate?
Yeah, well, it actually goes back to 1990 when immigration law was revised, and at that time they created separate classes of visas for performers, athletes, religious workers. But after that passed, lawmakers realized somehow they had forgotten fashion models. So they were lumped in with H-1B visas, though they are a very different kind of applicant. So let's take a look at some of the stats. According to the Brookings Institute, slightly more than a quarter of the models come from Brazil, trailed by Canada, the UK, and Germany. And the vast majority of the applications come from New York modeling firms. LA firms were a distant second. And their average age is 23. Their average salary, $161,000, almost 3 times the U.S. median household income. And if you take a look at their education, more than half of them have no high school diploma, Sarah. So that's a huge contrast. All the other H-1B visa holders have at least an undergraduate degree. 17% of those applications come from companies including Microsoft, Google, Oracle, Intel, Qualcomm, and Apple. And those companies filed 70,000 applications just last year. So the visas, as you mentioned, they're in high demand. The cap on applications this year was reached in just 5 days. The models get less than 1% of those visas, but still they are sharing the very same visas as the computer.
So that raises the question, Megan, as to why you're talking about highly skilled visas and you're talking about people without a bachelor's degree.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, there's still an economic argument, like with so many other industries. You want to get foreign-born models like your Gisele Bundchens into the United States. In New York, 1 in 20 workers are tied to the fashion industry. Any annual Fashion Week event generates an economic impact, an average of $865 billion. So we talked to a former lawmaker and former lobbyist for the industry, Bruce Morrison. He says if the model goes elsewhere, so do the jobs.
All of the things that go with that photo shoot involve American jobs and American income. So if you don't let the model come here, then the shoot goes there.
And Sarah, this is interesting. Even though their numbers are much smaller, almost 1/2 of the model applications get approved. It's less than 1/3 for the computer scientists. So there may be something, beauty may trump brains when it comes to getting into the United States. But again, it's a much smaller number.
And just for
Sarah,
clarification, did you say that Canada was a hotspot for these supermodels? I just want to clarify for Eric's sake.
Yeah, well, I mean, Brazil, far and away, Brazil is #1. But yeah, a lot of the models are coming from Canada and the UK as well.